We'll give this a couple minutes or a minute or two while I grab my grub, and we'll get to talking.
Hi, we got a 2 cheeseburger meal.
Yes, ma'am.
What's coming up? Oh, it's a sweet tea. Got it for mine. Got it in that way? I have mine. All right, here we go.
Thank you, dear. All right. So we got the 2-system check taken care of this morning, and just wanted to go over what we came up with on each unit. I started upstairs. Second floor system is a 40,000 BTU furnace with a 2-ton evaporator coil and a 1.5 ton condenser. I typically start off by going outside and shutting off the condenser, and then checking my air handler out. I get my blower capacitor under a load. I get my blower amps, put all of that into the mechanical checklist for the iManifold app, and get my static pressure drop across the evaporator, as well as the total static. Makes it easier than having the air conditioner running during all of those tests. But drop across the coil was really almost negligible. It was a 0.08 static drop across the evaporator. And then I got my total static before the evaporator coil and in the return side of the furnace, and I had over 1 inch of static. I had posted pictures earlier about it on my Facebook group, and I played around with the blower taps a little bit, hoping I could get the static down, because the registers were definitely extra noisy with over 1 inch of static. But every other speed tap that I ran at that high of static, the blower performance was much, much lower than a 1.5 tons, the nominal 600 CFM. So I ended up having to leave it on the high blower speed tap just to keep my airflow close to nominal. Static pressure said that it's an... All right. I don't know where I lost signal there, but with 1 inch of static, the blower performance said that the system was pushing 630 CFM. So I ended up leaving it there because everything else was too low. Target temperature split came out really close to the nominal 600 CFM. But the other thing I'd found on that system was actually the fact that it's a 90% system installed in an attic, and there's only a single pipe running out the roof. That may not have been an issue initially because the space was not totally enclosed prior to what I saw today from what the customer said. But at the time of the service, the mechanical space where the furnace is was closed in to maybe a 4-foot by 10-foot space, and that's definitely not adequate for combustion air on that system, especially if there's no ventilation between another space. So we addressed that with the customer, recommended that a concentric kit be installed to allow us to get combustion air from outside the building and eliminate that potential for depressurization of that space during combustion. System was running a low subcooling when I first checked it in. Don't remember off the top of my head exactly what it was. It might have been 1 subcool. On a TXV, one subcooling is very rarely ever correct. The condensing unit is actually not rated for a TXV, so there was no target subcooling on the system data, and so we just shoot for about a 10-degree subcool. Put a little bit of refrigerant in it and got my subcooling up, and then moved downstairs. Downstairs he had a 3-ton furnace, 60,000 BTU, 3-ton blower with a 3-ton evaporator and a 3-ton condenser. Total static on that was about 0.7 inches, and based on blower performance, that 0.7 inches was only 1,055 CFM. It was already on high speed, so there was nowhere else to go, and we tried pulling the filters out of the system to see if that would alleviate some of the static. We had a 0.32 static on the return and a 0.395 on the supply. Moving the filters, taking the filters out got us to a 0.22, but when we lowered the return static, we increased the supply static and stayed right there at the 0.7 and change total static. One of the ducts coming off of the supply plenum took a hard turn and circled back beside the back of the furnace. So I'm going to guess that that is at least the first place we could start to try to lower the supply static. When we went from 0.32 on the return to 0.2 on the return, the supply static jumped up to about ½ an inch. So allowing the system to breathe in a little bit more freely allowed it to push out more pressure and raise the supply static from the 0.395 that we started with. I told the customer that about the only way I would start would be to take that collar that is choked off on the supply and reroute it so that it didn't choke the duct as heavily. With that in mind, I still don't think that we'd be able to get down to the 0.4 inches of static that we would have to get to be able to maintain anywhere near the 0.4 inches of static that we would have to get to be able to have 1200 CFM nominal. I just missed my turn. But checked the charge on that one, and I do remember that one. That was at a 0.3 subcooling with the system running. So we added a little bit of refrigerant to get our subcooling up a little bit higher. But when we got our subcooling higher, the suction pressure dropped from, or not suction pressure, but the superheat dropped from about 13 superheat to somewhere around 7 or 8 due to the fact that we're not moving enough air across that coil to keep that evaporator temperature as low. We've got a ambulance coming up on me. So we're going to move through the intersection. So downstairs system was running pretty decent at the end of the call, but definitely needed to have the static addressed so that we could get enough airflow across that coil to try to balance things out a bit. All in all, both systems, you know, definitely need some work, and it's interesting because the whole neighborhood seems to have pretty shoddy work done by the original contractor. Between the 3 systems that I talked about so far, the video previous and then this one, you know, there's plenty of room for improvement on how those systems were set up and commissioned. This afternoon, I just put on a compressor blanket. I don't know that I've ever seen a compressor blanket really do a whole lot to control noise from the compressor, but the powers that be seem to think that compressor blanket on the compressor is going to make a huge difference in condenser noise. Customer was concerned because their bedroom is right beside the condensers, and wanted to try to minimize the potential for noise on those systems. That took about 2.5 minutes. Showed up, pulled the condenser fan, pulled the old wrap off of the compressor, and then threw the compressor blanket on and screwed the fan back down. It was really kind of a throwaway call. This afternoon I'm headed over to a system that we are quoting for replacement, and we're gonna go in together with the project manager to offer repair quote in comparison to replacement quote. I don't know exactly what we're getting into there, but we'll see what we get. If nothing else, I'll post pictures. So anyway, I'm gonna eat some of this grub that I picked up. Christina, you'll be happy to know that I am eating lunch today. I don't do that very often. McDonald's. These fries aren't very good. They've probably been out since breakfast. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll check in later this afternoon, probably do another live stream at that point, and give you an update. I'm choking. Give you an update on what we see on that other call that we're headed to this afternoon. Anyway, thanks for watching. Like, share. We'll see you on the next video. Peace.